Stage Door Theater Podcast, the most brilliant podcast about theater in Toledo ever. Tap dances with choreographer Bob Marzola.
I'm sitting here leaning back, drinking my drink.
I love it. So full disclosure to everybody listening, I was an actual guest at Bob's wedding. So I kind of feel special in that regard because there were like 2 or 3 people invited to that wedding.
I don't know about that.
I could tell you it was one of the most entertaining weddings I've ever been to. Because
you and Gabe made a surprise guest appearance, and he tore up that dance floor.
Well, we were thrown in with the Holly Almer photography package, so sorry. We come with it.
You know what? I didn't see that part on the dotted line, like the fine print, but it ended up working itself on out. And it was great because maybe as the energy and the night was kind of getting a little more subdued, the two of you came and
in walked the Amlers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you bumped up that energy to max again.
It was the music. It's what happens when you have a bunch of musical theater people as guests at a wedding.
Yeah.
Up comes Melissa, well now Toth.
Yeah.
Goes and sings a song and I'm like, this is not fair. This is not fair.
Was it one big Broadway show tune after another?
I mean, there might have been some,
not really though. It was
additional things that you wouldn't see at a typical wedding. For example, after the I do's and you may kiss each other and now I pronounce you married, there might have been a choreographed number
there might have
that
been.
We performed down the aisle.
Kyle said you weren't very good.
No, that's the sad part about the whole thing. I think Bob was probably the worst dancer on the floor.
Yeah, right?
I was like, this is embarrassing. This is a guy out here.
We our wedding song, we had, live musicians.
Right.
My brother-in-law played the guitar and Melissa sang and Janine played piano and
Janine, she's coming on here too. So
okay,
we're
awesome.
Recruiting everybody that's good.
Yeah,
anybody that wants to come on the show, we're taking them. We're kind of easy. Nah, we like good people.
So we've mentioned the name Janine and Joe.
Yes,
it's Janine, Joe, and Bob. They're always together. They're the trifecta. They are the Trinity. They are. And you guys have kind of a legacy in Toledo, I think.
Well, thanks. And there is a misconception that 3B is for Bachman, Barton, and Bob. And that is not what 3B is at all. Janine and I are just honorary Bs of the 3B
If you don't
family.
have a B, then you can't get in, apparently.
Apparently, at least there's it in the last name. I'm just like, and Bob.
And Bob.
So, yeah, it is just Janine, Joe, and I just speak the same language. And it's one of those relationships where we think the same way and we want the same outcome and we work our brains just operate the same way. And so it's effortless. Anybody I talk to about it, the three of us just work together effortlessly. And I've worked with many, many people, and I've had great working relationships with many, many people, but there is just something about Janine, Joe, and myself that just, it is, again, I'll say it, effortless. It really is.
I've noticed that, like, one of the best things with the teen group that you guys have, when you guys do your teen shows and it's the three of you working together, Ron and I were just talking about this today, is that you kind of parent the same way, for lack of a better term, and that is you expect a certain thing from your group. You expect them and you push them, and you aren't shy about telling them, but then it's backed up with love.
Absolutely.
And that's what I see. It's like, hey man, Bob's going to yell at you and he's going to tell you you can do better and he's going to push you, and then he's going to turn around and hug you.
But when I think about, and oddly enough, as Janine doesn't do the majority of the summer teen shows, she maybe has done a handful, but it's been a lot of other people. But when I think about who our music directors have been, whether it's been Kristen or Jen, Janine, when you think about any of those people, you think they're teachers. And Joe might not have an education degree, but he's worked with kids for so long, and he worked with Springfield. So when you get people who knows what it's like to teach kids, it's that, warm demander kind of thing is I'm going to love you, but I'm going to push you, and I'm going to expect the best out of you.
Absolutely. As an example, I will give a great example, and that is, for those who don't know listening, my son had a surgery. And when he had his surgery, he needed time to heal, and he was all that kind of stuff, so he couldn't audition for one of the shows. And I don't remember what the show was or what was going on. He still wanted to go to the audition center because he wanted to see you guys. He wanted to see you. He wanted to see Joe. He wanted to see you. So he gets out of the car in Waterville, and I can see him walking, and then I see you through the window, seeing him get up and walk over, and it was the sweetest thing because, like, there's Gabe. I haven't seen him, and I know he's in, and it was so sweet.
But it's the relationships. You build those relationships. And, something unique about the teen show is a lot of our teens not only do our teen show, but they do our adult shows. And so you have that continuum, that relationship that just either continues to grow or works its way through teen shows and the adult shows. And, Gabe is a great example. I've known him, I feel like, forever. I mean, maybe age 5, 6?
7.
7? Was when I
Seven.
first
He
met
had,
him?
but actually just 7. He
Okay.
just started at 7 years old, and then started doing Seussical and
Yeah. So, a decade relationship here. I literally have watched this kid grow up, and that happens often.
I'm guessing that teen shows are easier for you than adult shows.
I don't know that one is easier or more challenging, because there's something I like about each of them. I'm an elementary teacher, so the teens I'm working with are high school, maybe some middle school, and so it's not necessarily my extreme bread and butter because I sit most comfortably with elementary kids. But no, I don't know that one is more challenging or easier than another. It's different. You just kind of flip a different switch.
So elementary school teaching is like your side job, your hobby. Mostly you're a choreographer.
Obviously,
Now,
that's where the big bucks are.
How did that happen? How did you get here?
exactly, because I'm from Kansas, Ohio, Rising Sun, Ohio. This is an area that I was never exposed to this kind of thing. Being a choreographer, I had never heard of that before. I didn't even know that was a thing. Obviously, I didn't know what was going. How did you get exposed and discover this?
Well, I'm from the Cleveland area, and back growing up, I was enrolled, I guess is the word, in a dance studio. And it was the dance studio that my mom and my aunts all went to, and my brothers and sisters all went to, and just started dancing when I was a kid. Age 3 is my first dance.
Oh, so it's a family tradition then?
Yeah.
So you were recruited early
Yeah.
onto this.
Yeah.
That's amazing. See, the fact that people live this life is different for me. Ron and I didn't have that. It was all sports.
Sure.
It was all just, I don't know, suburban and rural life. And you actually had an environment where you said your mom went to the studio?
Yep, my mom and my aunts, and yeah.
Like, were they dancers at the studio
Yep,
or were they
yep,
teachers?
Yep. Nope, they did it growing up, kids in high school, and then just themselves stopped once they graduated high school, and we just kind of picked up the tradition.
Oh, so they weren't currently dancing when you danced?
No.
Oh, they just said, this is a studio that we
Yep.
went to, so we're making you go.
Yep,
And-
absolutely.
And you were 3, so you had no choice.
Exactly. And it was my jam.
It's no different than what everybody else does when it comes to sports.
And
I played sports, you're playing sports.
Exactly. And when it came to, growing up, I don't know how my parents afforded it, but we did anything we wanted. I played baseball. I played volleyball. I played tennis. I played trumpet. I played piano. I did gymnastics. I did dance. So as a kid, I was exposed to, I felt a very well-rounded kid.
Well, as a new parent, you will find out that you will just give everything to this child and you will just not eat and you won't retire and it's all okay.
Yeah. And then just as, the years progressed, with anything that you are doing, if you want to get better at it, it takes more time. And so, I couldn't continue to play this instrument. I couldn't continue to play this sport. And I really just funneled the majority of my time into dance and gymnastics. And it was dance and gymnastics, which are, there's many overlaps between them. Dance and gymnastics. And got to middle school and I quit dance. I know.
What?
Why?
I know.
You said this isn't for me. I'm going to go out for the football team.
I said dance is not cool because I'm a middle schooler and it's all about cool. I said dance is not cool.
You were chasing tail already, and like I can't do this.
I didn't know what tail I was going to chase then, but
12 years old, man. Oh yeah.
And for 2 years I quit dance, and I did gymnastics 5 days a week, and I hated it. By about year and a half in, I just missed dance so much. And I asked my parents, can I quit gymnastics and go back to dance? And again, I had parents that didn't care. And they said, absolutely.
Well, obviously they did care. They said they didn't care that you quit that.
Yeah.
I mean, they cared enough to do this. They wanted, you were like Billy Elliot, you're like,
and honestly, let's be honest. Now that, as an adult, now that I know, the price tag for gymnastics and the price tag for dance, they were probably secretly celebrating behind closed doors.
I don't have any idea how much gymnastics costs, but I can tell you how much dance costs.
So,
and it's not cheap. So if you're saying gymnastics is more, I don't see why, because I feel like half the stuff is for the choreography routines and all that. You choreographers aren't cheap.
I know,
They pay you big bucks just to learn how to dance, but we need you. We need you. I mean, this is, so you did this. So you did your dance and said, I'm not going to do gymnastics anymore. I'm just going to do dance now. And that was high school you started doing full-time?
I think freshman year is when I full-time dance. I don't know if I was going 5 days a week, but I was going the majority of the week. Anything from tap to modern to jazz, classes here and there. And then I graduated and came to BG, and dance was done, or so I thought. And then I found out, and in BG I had already decided I was going to be an education major, and in my freshman year, I found out you can actually take dance classes. You can major or minor in dance and as well. So sophomore year, I added in a dance minor. I was realistic in the sense that I didn't see myself making a career out of dance. I didn't want to own a studio. I didn't want to join a company. That wasn't where my vision was. That wasn't what my passion was. But I knew I needed to continue dancing. And it really was then at BGSU when I started taking some of the dance classes for my minor, and there was a choreography class. That is where I started experimenting and dabbling, and kind of a different kind of fire was lit. Because up until now, I was a performer. I enjoyed performing, and that was good enough. And now all of a sudden, I can perform and I can choreograph, and I had a new kind of creative outlet. I'm kind of digging this.
What was the first show you choreographed? How did that happen?
The first show I choreographed.
Right, were you like sitting at your school desk and saw a flyer hanging up, or no, you were at the student lounge, I should say, and saw, or were you like chums with somebody and they hooked you up?
I think.
Is it who you know, not what you know?
It a little bit of that. The very first community theater show I auditioned for was, my sophomore or junior year of college. I don't remember which. And it was with Black Swan Players, and it was Crazy for You. And I went to the audition, and I obviously performed well in the dance.
So you weren't
area.
the choreographer, you were just in the show.
Yep, I just was like, hey, I enjoy doing musicals. This would be fun.
Black Swamp's in Bowling Green.
Yeah.
I'm in Bowling Green.
Yeah.
This is like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. And so I went to the audition and did well. I got not a lead role, but, a minor character role in the musical. Made friends with, the director, Bob Hastings. And at the end of that show, he asked me if I would be interested in co-choreographing next year's show with the current choreographer. And so my very first show I choreographed was Anything Goes with Black Swamp Players. And I it was perfect because I got my feet wet in the sense of I am choreographing for a community theater, but I'm not alone. And so I got to...
And that's a heck of a show to choreograph for your first choreograph.
It is. And tap being, a forte of mine, it was something that I felt pretty confident in doing. But since I'd never choreographed a musical before, it was very, very conducive to having somebody who has done that there with me. And I learned very quickly how to choreograph for a musical.
That's different how than just like choreographing.
So if I'm
for like what choreographing, what other choreography is there? I should say.
So
like
if I'm choreographing a dance for a studio, I don't have to worry about breath support in terms of vocalization. So when I choreograph for a musical, there's all those other elements: the blocking element, the breath support, the facing forward, so that the lines can be delivered, all of those little nuances.
Absolutely, just like when Sutton Foster has to do that giant tap number. It's like, let's make her sing it right away after she's done tapping.
But she does it.
I know,
and I don't know how.
I mean, they're like, who cares? She gets no breath. She just has to do, 10 minutes of tap.
She is one of those people that just... I'm in awe all the time.
I love it. I saw, I'm going to talk about my son here, but there's a section in Something Rotten that he had to do his big tap number. And at the end of it, he's supposed to be shown like he's exhausted doing, and he really was dying on stage. So I appreciate what you're saying.
You know what? I had one of those moments myself. Years later, after Crazy for You on 42nd Street, Black Swamp did Singing in the Rain. And I was...
What year was that? Was I around?
I don't remember. Don't
Nobody does Singing in the Rain. That's why I'm asking. I want to see it.
And I got my dream role, Cosmo Brown. Didn't want to be Don. Didn't want to be the lead. I don't want to be the heartthrob. I want to be the goofy kind of...
Make them laugh?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
And so, for
Death
anyone who
by
knows...
dance.
Yes. Anyone who knows Make Them Laugh, it's just one shtick kind of thing after another, and you are running and you are jumping, and it's just as much dance as it is gymnastics almost. And you do this big dance number, and at the end you're supposed to then just sing. And I remember just about every performance I held my finger on up, gave the audience just a couple big breaths in silence. They just went along.
Right, they just eat it. Like, we just saw you dying out there.
Yeah.
We know how you're breathing.
Then I was like, make them laugh. Held up my finger, took a breath, and just did a couple of those, and...
Just go with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I get what Gabe had to do there.
Put you in the hospital for a couple days after that.
Kept me in pretty good shape.
So Black Swamp, you've done a lot with Black Swamp.
That's really where I got my start. I was for a long time working only with Black Swamp. But, as mentioned, I was going to school there. I was living there. I teach there, so I was living in Bowling Green while I was teaching, and it was a perfect, convenient location. And, Black Swamp Players has a phenomenal reputation of the musicals that it produces.
And they just got themselves a new building.
We did.
Yay.
I'm currently on the board.
Oh, nice.
I'm one of the trustees. Yes, on Oak Street. It's going through some major renovations right now. Black Swamp Players is soaring right now.
How long have they been around, too? Because they made a big deal about, like, this is the first time in our existence we have a building now.
Don't quote me on the years, but I know that a couple years ago, maybe 5 or so, we had our golden anniversary. So
50.
That's 50? Okay.
Yeah, that's 50. So I want to say maybe 55-ish years. I would say.
How it's a house.
It's been a lot of things.
A lot of things.
It was a church, and then it was a daycare, and now it is.
Now it's a theater.
Theater.
How many seats can it?
50, 60.
Awesome.
So anybody who's maybe been to like a Fort Finley.
Finley, yeah.
Yep. Think
That's
of
what
it
I was
like that, where it's going to be the more intimate kind of.
So don't pay top-notch dollar for the front row because they're all
not
good
gonna
seats.
be worth it, yeah.
Exactly, they're all great seats.
Well,
There's no point.
and now we've been able to. It's just general admission. It's one price. Here's what's going to be, because there's not going to be a bad seat.
No, if it's like Finley, which it sounds exactly like that, 50 or so,
Yeah.
there are no bad seats. Even if you're jammed in a corner, the corner's 10 feet from the stage. It's like there it is.
So I've followed Black Swamp. When I first started, we were at the mall.
take your drink, man.
Yeah.
You're going to get all dry mouth over there
Yeah.
dying without having anything in your there. See, we're here to have
important
fun
things.
and
Something
stay
about
hydrated.
Something about the mall? What?
Yeah, so when I first started with Black Swamp, we were at the mall in BG. And we had a theater there. And
BG has a mall? I didn't know that for real.
do.
I'm not even joking. They have a mall. Oh,
They
is that
do.
the Woodville Mall?
Woodland.
Woodland Mall. Okay, I think I've been there actually to see a movie.
Somebody's been there once.
There's no movie theater there anymore.
No?
But
Well, there's no point in me going now, so.
and then Black Swamp moved to First United Methodist Church, and we were there for quite some time. And then from there, we moved to now the building we own, Oak Street.
Cool, but we want to get back to choreography.
That's fine.
So that's the thing.
yeah.
We're going to have Heath on. I think is that for
Perfect.
when Black
Perfect.
Swamp comes
Okay,
back on here.
so-
But we want to talk about choreography here.
Then you went to Springfield. Was that next?
I think there was just a little bit of overlapping here because then one summer I was doing a BGSU musical. I was just in it, not choreographing, and a friend was like, "Hey, I'm going to go audition for Titanic." Joe was doing Titanic for Waterville at the time, the first time we did it, and they're like, "They need guys."
I was about ready to jump in and be like, I saw that. And then I'm like, oh, no, I didn't
No.
see that one. I saw the second one, obviously.
And they were like, they need guys. And I was like, okay. And
As always, they always
we
need
already
guys.
had auditions. Just I already talked to Joe. He's a friend of mine. He said, just come to the next rehearsal. So I came to the next rehearsal, and he was like, oh, hi, I'm Joe Barton. Do you also want to choreograph it?
You said you knew Joe. Why'd he introduce himself?
And so, and then from there, very quickly after that Titanic show, the choreographer for Springfield left, and Joe said, do you want to slide into that position?
Wow.
So you did Grease in 2008, and my son was a freshman, and that's where we first heard of you. So there you go. And
Yeah,
then you did-
but see what it turns out to be though is you have compiled a bunch of here's a chance, you capitalized on it. Here, kid, here's another chance. You did okay on that one. Here, kid, here's another chance. So really, it was all about proving yourself for years. It sounds like to make sure that you were actually didn't suck.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my older age here,
Yes.
I can look back and see it differently now. I look at it through a different lens. Then it was, a little frustrating. Why, because when you're in your 20s and, why doesn't everybody just know how great I am? Obviously. And so, there was a little bit of frustration trying to establish yourself. And but now I look back on it and look at it as my building blocks.
They didn't know you danced since you were 3? I've been dancing since I was 3. You know how good I am? That'd be me. I'd be like, you're effing lucky to have me.
I'm going to interject because I know a lot of people who are very good dancers who are not good choreographers. One does not make the other. And that's okay. And I know people who are dancers who will tell you, I love to dance. I'm good at picking it up. Don't ask me to choreograph. Because those are two very different
Absolutely.
creative elements.
And some of the best dancers, or I should say some of the best choreographers, may not be the top-notch dancers.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, you can't tell me, again, I'm going to do a sports reference here, how many coaches do we see out there that are professional coaches that really kind of sucked as football players? But they were like, Brian Hartline is like one of the greatest wide receiver coaches in Ohio State history, but he was just okay.
Absolutely.
He was just okay.
And so, it's one of those that you can be a dancer and you can try out choreography and it just might not work for you.
What do you want to choreograph?
Like, what's a bucket list?
Yes.
Ooh, Drowsy Chaperone's definitely a bucket list.
You haven't done that?
I have.
Why did I think you
not.
did that already in Bowling Green?
No.
Somebody else did it instead of you, obviously.
Oddly enough, Something Rotten is one.
Oh.
And Catch Me If You Can is a bucket list one.
Catch Me If You Can has amazing choreography.
Yes, it does.
I did not know that show had such great choreography until I saw it. And it's one big chorus line of dancing all the time. The choreography in that show is the show.
And it's interesting because it obviously stems from a movie.
Right.
And
but
so I don't know how it's just not as well known.
I feel, well, I don't know. That's a good question on the well-known thing, but I also feel like they decided consciously when they made that show, let's make the dancing a big deal because it is a movie. Everybody knows it as a movie. Let's make the dancing enormous. So it's a really great, choreographed show.
So I'm sure I have other bucket list shows. I know I do, but those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head that I really am thirsty for. And there are shows that I'm itching to go back and do. 42nd Street being one of them.
Ron, tell him about how he was mean to you.
Okay, so
Oh, no!
Bob was such a meanie. Ron is the nicest guy you'd ever meet, and
my
Bob made him cry.
my first real impression of you.
Oh, no.
Although my son always spoke highly of you in high school. My first was Titanic 3B.
Okay.
2012, and you had a bunch of and you choreographed. Did you choreograph that? Because you were in it.
Correct.
You sang and danced in it. But you were trying to teach a bunch of old guys like me and moms who were with their kids in the show how to do the latest rag on the promenade deck of the Titanic. And basically it came down to, if you can't do it, get off the stage. We got enough people out here.
Oh, no!
So you're cracking the whip. No, you said it as nicely as you could.
I
And
doubt that.
But and you're cracking the whip, and you needed to, and it looked great. But some of us just had to get off the
hope
stage.
you have not been harboring
No.
these feelings, and I apologize if it...
He's been hanging on to it for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
10 years was when
I was
they
waiting
did it.
for this moment to tell
To-
you.
to-
That's why I've been invited.
to
so-
ball him out, exactly.
The other impression I got was in the lower deck scene where they're all singing, and the immigrants are singing, "I want to be an engineer."
Yes.
You're sitting there with little Gabe on your lap, as compassionate as could be, and just
thanks.
drawing him in, and that was great. You were
Some of the best pictures I have from that show are the ones that one of the two of you took and just captured those moments with Gabe.
Well, it's funny to me because you say he said it in the nicest tone possible. But I've been in lots of rooms when Bob choreographs, and the nicest tone possible is direct and straightforward. And we only have an hour for this damn thing right now. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to do anything. And I actually admire that. I have no problem with that.
Yes.
It's like, hey man, this is just the way it is. Get the F off the stage. You can't dance. And it is to a point where it's like, okay, we need to get some progress done on this scene because we only have so much time.
Again, like a teacher, it's that warm demander. It's that I'm going to have really high expectations, and I'm going to try to do this in a way to offer you many opportunities. But at some point, these are the expectations. And
Well, your expectations are the expectations that, as a father of somebody who has had children who's in your shows, drove them to work on stuff outside of theater performances. It's like, I need to be good enough at dance that I will be considered for these dance scenes. I'm not going to ever be considered if I show up on the day
sure.
and fall around everywhere. So you need to be good enough at
And
dance.
I get that question from a lot of people who, that is their area that they struggle in, is, they singing, awesome, check. The monologues, the characterization, check. But dance, never took any formal classes, not a strength of mine. What do I do?
Ron was saying, he said, you have the hardest job of everybody in theater, he feels like, because you run into the Rons of the world who can't dance.
Community theater.
And so a lot of the times I get asked this question by my high school families. And so one of the easiest things that I can do, if you want to invest your time and money and go dance at the studio, awesome. There's great opportunities there, but not everybody can be afforded that financially or time-wise. One of the easiest cheats out there is watch and do exercise videos. Because exercise videos is about... What
do you mean, like Jane Fonda exercise videos?
Sure. Anything that is going to teach you dance moves, teach you repetition. You have to watch somebody do it and learn from it. And you're moving your body and getting with the beat. Because the dance videos...
I never thought of that before.
The dance videos all have... They're to the beat. And there's repetitive, and you are moving your body, and you're isolating arms and legs and feet and things like that. So I've told, many high school families that are looking for, I don't want to call it a quick fix, but something other than studio, go to YouTube, find some workout videos that are maybe a little more dance-like, and just learn them.
So you don't tell them to go to YouTube and copy dance choreography. You tell them to do workouts?
Yeah.
You want them to get in shape too? Is that why?
Well, I mean, that's always a good one, but...
Is that your sly way of telling them, hey man, get in shape, you're kind of sloppy?
I mean, they can go watch some dance videos, but it's harder to pick those up. Because, again, you said it, with the workout, there's so much repetition.
Well, and you're right, though. What you said is easier to pick up because these are not moves. When you're watching a dance video, I can't do any of those things. You kidding me? So you want me to try and do a triple pirouette?
Yep.
That's not going to happen.
Yep.
I'm going to do a half pirouette.
So really, you're
turn
building up
around.
your confidence.
Right.
You're like,
that makes sense.
I can go ahead and do a grapevine and shake my arms and do grapevine the other way. And
Little rhythm. Get a little rhythm. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So what are some of your crowning achievements, best choreograph successes you've done, and some of your worst dog bombs?
Oh, I want to hear the dog bombs. I want to hear those. The dog bomb. What a funny phrase.
Yeah.
We'll start with the feathers in my cap, because I think those are more memorable. I've had a lot of shows I've really, really enjoyed, but if I could quickly recall, probably two of the shows that I can sit back and go, you know what? I'm going to say it. I kind of kicked butt there. And it would be when 3B...
His elementary voice kicked in. I kicked butt.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, oh, frickety frack that happens in my classroom. So I would say when 3B did Mamma Mia, and then when Bowling Green High School, we piloted Newsies.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You piloted Newsies? Newsies Junior? Or
No.
Newsies School Edition?
No.
Newsies?
Newsies. Maybe 4 years ago?
They came to you and said, try this out?
The director, Jo Beth Gonzalez, just has some really great connections. Bowling Green High School piloted Mary Poppins. We were one of the first 4 high schools to do it. We piloted a couple different straight plays. We piloted Newsies. We were one of 4 schools across the United States to pilot. And there's a whole process to go along with when you pilot something. But
Right. Pilot means like a few schools in the country get these. They all get different versions. They all go back and figure out, is this something we're going to do or not do?
And so with the piloting program, there's a lot of paperwork we have to fill out, because then it goes part of the package for schools to consider to do. But yeah, so I would say that Newsies is a dance show. I've been growing up watching Newsies back when it was the Disney movie that wasn't even a musical with a young Christian Bale. But Newsies and Mamma Mia within the last 4 years here. I've just been nice feathers in my cap.
Right. I wish there were people not listening to this podcast who haven't seen Newsies and don't know anything about it, because go see it, man. Are you kidding me? Go to the Netflix version and watch it and see what they do. But I know everybody listening's already watched it, so it's kind of a disappointment. I'm talking to, the crowd already knows this stuff. So Newsies. What else besides Newsies?
So and then Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
Was that with Kate and
So you've only done 2 good shows?
No, I said quickly off the top of my head, those would be the 2 feathers in my cap.
Shrek was no good. You didn't like doing Shrek?
Oh, I love doing Shrek.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Sarah Mallow would appreciate you saying
And anybody
Shrek.
who knows me also knows that, to the best of my ability, I always sneak at least one tap number.
Absolutely.
When we did Sister Act, there's no tap in Sister Act.
Oh,
Bob
really?
put tap in Sister
Nice.
Act. When I did Wizard of Oz, I snuck tapping.
Les Mis, they were tapping.
Yeah.
Maybe not Les
Sometimes
Mis.
it doesn't work.
Yeah,
But,
maybe not. I mean,
that's also a nice little...
The Seagull, Max Lay, had a huge number. He played Scully. Is that his name? Scuttle in Little Mermaid. That big tap
teen
number.
version, yeah.
Oh, he was phenomenal. Dancing around up there. Feathers were flying everywhere. It was perfect. Perfect.
So that's the other thing that people know. Bob Marzola always likes to try to if there's not one already written, where is Bob going to stick the tap number? It doesn't always happen. Lame is there's no tapping.
Although the final march scene where you're a step forward, a step back, that was you. That was
So Bob's trying to slip tap shoes on those people as they're doing it?
They all had tap on, yes.
Yeah, why not? But gosh, in terms of like fails,
I don't know if he wants to say
bombs.
these, man.
These are the dog bombs, yes.
Don't name names, I guess.
I guess.
Don't name the company.
I've never regretted doing a show because, again, I look at it as a foundation, a building block. What did I learn from it? What I can say is probably earlier in my choreographical years, I just made that word up. Let's pretend it exists.
Choreographical. It's grammatically graphical.
Yes. I'm a stronger choreographer now than I was back then. I've learned, I've grown. And so anybody listening who was part of my first, 5-6 shows that I choreographed, I apologize.
Probably outraged we're even having you on.
It was not.
This guy's a bum. Why did you have
probably
him
not
on?
my best work.
Were you meaner then? Or?
Nope. It's because I didn't get it. And here's what I mean by that. I created dance moves, and I taught the dance moves, and people sang and they danced. That's not choreography. And what I mean by that is, as I have evolved and as I've grown, I've learned that choreography needs to tell a story as much as the movement and the words in the song. So I've become even more purposeful in the movement and the steps that I choose to use to tell that story. And so I also want to choose movement, like we said earlier, that, if I'm singing, if I know that this is a high note I have to sustain, I'm not going to create a very complicated move. So I really, being a performer myself, I need to think about the performers when I'm choreographing. What is going to sit well and comfortably in them when they're doing this, and what is not going to work. And so I feel like I've really evolved as a choreographer, telling the story and then also making sure that it is what is most advantageous for the performers.
Awesome. And that only comes with experience, probably.
Correct. I could not have done that my first couple years. That is something I needed to learn, and I'll be honest, that's something I needed to fail at to learn.
So these poor first groups had to be failures. Nice. So if we go back and rewind this episode, what was the first show he said he did? And we can figure out exactly.
Yeah,
what
exactly. That was I at least did that with somebody else.
Anything goes.
Yeah,
he
when
was
he bombed
just
it.
helping.
Oh,
He
okay.
was just helping.
Gotcha. He was just bringing the actual choreographer her latte. That's what was going on there. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, can you, at the risk of leaving people out, say who are some of the best dancers in community theater in Toledo? Can you name names without?
How about we
Missing
just name
somebody?
some really good ones without, How about these people I really enjoy watching
Them
dance
dance.
instead of saying these people are the best? How's that? Then you won't be throwing anybody under the bus.
But
Start with Ron Matnick as your favorite.
And I know we're all being tongue in cheek, but there's actually kind of two different tiers here. There are people who pick up on choreography well and pick up on choreography quickly. And then there are also people that move and dance like me. There's been so many great people that I've worked with over the years. Just one person, not trying to specifically leave anybody out, but one person, Christina Youngblood.
Right.
I've
heard of her.
Yeah, you heard of her?
Mm-hmm.
She thought like me. She moved like me. So as over the years, as I've worked with her, and then she eventually became a dance captain of mine, I knew as I turned things over, she was going to fix things or look at it through the same lens I was looking at.
No, it makes total sense. She's like a little protege. It's the same deal. It's coaches. I'm going to do the coaching tree. It's like, why would you want to have somebody who goes in a completely different direction than what you believe is the right way?
And so there are people who are very good dancers but they approach it or they look at it a little differently than me. And it doesn't necessarily subtract from their ability. But when I think about people that I'm putting in a dance line or people I'm going to ask to be a dance captain, they might not necessarily be a dance captain, but they're going to be a phenomenal dancer and they're going to perform the heck out of it on stage. But I'm going to choose, Sally Smith over here as my dance captain because she moves like me. She thinks like me. And so you kind of have two different levels, two different kinds of people when it comes to dancers.
So if I want to be a choreographer,
Yeah.
obviously I won't be. Let's name somebody who's actually going to maybe want to be a choreographer out there. What would you tell them to do? What do they need to do? They need to start smoozing with the local community theater people?
And oddly enough is that shows do look for choreographers. You would think that there's a lot of us around, but there are shows that are really sometimes hunting around and asking 2, 3, 4 people deep, are you interested in choreographing? No, I'm busy. Okay, you interested in choreographing? So yeah, it's just a matter of name recognition, getting it out there.
So I have a chance.
Again,
I could do this.
It took me being in shows, establishing myself, proving myself to some directors that I might say I can dance, but you actually watched me do it, and putting in the time.
So no, I can't do it then. Is that what you're saying?
Now you can do anything you want.
You
go watch those
anything
workout.
you can do, I can do. Better.
Go watch those workout videos.
You've bragged about in high school how you were getting all the chicks because you could dance.
No, not because I could dance, because I would dance. There's a big difference.
Okay.
Big difference in could and would.
You know what? I get all the chicks too.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, in high school in the dance studio, I was the only dude. So
oddly enough, yeah. But you were in Cleveland. That is a little bit different. I mean, it's a big city. You would think it would be.
I was in suburb of Cleveland. It's not like
what suburb?
Downtown.
What suburb was it? You forgot where you lived?
I lived in Brooklyn and Brunswick, Ohio, but the dance studio was in Parma.
Oh. Anybody who's watched Drew Carey knows that where that is.
I grew up in Parma Heights.
Okay, there you go.
That. Oh my gosh, you guys are practically brothers.
Practically.
Oh my gosh.
Practically perfect.
It seems like in Broadway, true or false, dance is 70% of the show.
It just depends on the show.
Or 70% of the casting, maybe.
But in community theater, it's like 15%. I don't know.
Because as a choreographer, my goal is to choose movement that can look good on your most trained, skilled dancer and look good on somebody who is coming in with little to no experience, which is obviously very different than a professional company. They want you to be top tier in every area. And that's just not reasonable. That's not a reasonable expectation for a community theater. And so, can you sing? Awesome. Then, can you do some acting? Okay.
Okay, so how many times then do you see a cast list after it's already been done and look at somebody and go, oh my gosh, this person is in the show. I know I can do something special now. Like Max Lay. Like you got, all of a sudden here's Max Lay. We know Max is a dance machine. Or Jonathan Crawford. We know he's a dance machine. Or Christina. It's like these people, you look at them, you're like, oh my gosh, they've had years of training. I can do something at least special with them.
If they have a solo, yes. But I can't create. One of the things that's really frustrating is when I watch choreographers create dance moves that only a third of the cast can successfully execute. And so that's great that your dancers can do it, but when the majority of the cast can't execute it, you've actually failed as a choreographer.
And that's specifically unique to a community theater choreographer then, right? That's what you were saying. It's like you're not on Broadway, everybody can dance.
So that's great if I've got, a Max Lay, if I've got a Christina, I could list out, 30 more people, but they only make up a part of the cast.
The fact that I can name their names is how specific they are. You're right.
A community theater choreographer needs to create movement that everybody can do. And it might mean that there's different tiers. Okay, I'm going to have a dance line that will come out and they'll get some more complicated choreography. But in the end, everybody has to move. Everybody has to dance.
Or get off the stage.
Get off the stage. I was going to say that. Or they just get
Well,
the
let's be
freaking
honest.
move.
When we did Titanic, there were so many
There were
people in that
80
show
people in the
that
cast.
some people were volunteering to get off the stage.
That was me. Yes. So, Waterville thinks they might be doing How to Succeed in Business.
That is a phenomenal show.
And there's some serious, there's the Brotherhood of Man dance. Are you going to choreograph that? If you are, I'm not even auditioning. I'll be gone.
You know what? I haven't even looked that far in advance. I don't even know who's directing it.
When is that, like 3 months from now?
No, they don't have a director yet.
Oh. Don't you have a director
I will
yet?
tell you, that is a phenomenal show. I did that with Black Swamp.
Okay.
Maybe I'll direct it.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, so it'd be great.
Brotherhood of Man number could be really good.
Yeah, there's a tap number in that as well.
And they need a lot of old guys.
I'm not going to be in it. I'm just going to be the director. I've never directed before, so I think my first
Just
one
gonna
should be
jump
just
right
that
in.
one. Yeah.
Jump right in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows this show, so if it's terrible, nobody cares. Oh, see that heavy sigh?
I love that show.
Do you
A couple people listening might know that show.
do you sit in the line at auditions? Are you one of the persons at the table?
Yep. And that's what I really appreciate is that whether it's been with Bowling Green High School, whether it was when I worked with Springfield High School with Joe, Black Swamp, Waterville, 3B, as a choreographer, my opinion was just as valued as the music director.
That's what I wanted to hear. So you're telling me that sometimes, actually, in a show, somebody will get cast in a role because of their choreography skills.
Potentially. If we look at, let's say, a Fiona of Shrek.
Right.
And Fiona needs to tap.
Absolutely.
And Reno Sweeney, if anything goes, needs to tap. Millie needs to tap. So absolutely, that is where...
I mean, not tapping in Shrek would be insane, not having her out there do that tap number. I mean, that's like the opening scene, isn't it, in the second act?
Yeah, it's opening of Act 2.
Yeah, it's like Act 2 starts, big tap number. You didn't do that. What would you lose like 20 minutes of the show all of a sudden?
Yeah. So I have been very fortunate, regardless of who I've worked with, is I've always had a seat at the table. And my opinion has not only just been put in the box of can they dance or not dance. And because, I do perform myself, they do recognize that I understand the acting element. I understand characterization. I understand the vocals. And so I am part of the team who's making that decision, and I've always felt my opinion has been validated regardless of who I've worked with.
Feel important, man.
I do.
You feel special. You feel important.
Aw, shucks.
I pulled my mouth away from the mic when I said that. I was just looking right at him. He had his little puppy dog eyes. Like, I feel important. And I'm like, oh, look at Bob. Oh, look at him. He's doing good.